of the woman who was murdered last year, and that's the latest homicide charge in this case. That family finds themselves devastated all over again.
Like, you took my daughter. You took somebody I can never get back, somebody I love. So I'm hurt for the rest of my life.
Chastity Morse is reliving the pain all over again, knowing Jonathan Welsh, the Detroit man released on low bond after being charged with numerous felonies, including torture, is now charged in a fourth murder, that of Chastity's 24-year-old daughter, Natayla Morse.
Last time I saw her, I hugged her and told her I love her, and my kids was about to graduate, so she was talking about, oh, I'm gonna come down to the graduation. Yeah, she died the day before her sisters graduated. They had to go across stage the next day knowing their sister died. I told them, do it for your sister. So they went across stage for her. They did it for her.
Her body was found in a field on the city's east side.
Welcome back to Too Close for Comfort, the podcast where we dive into the stories that hit the closest, the ones where the people we trust the most becomes the ones we should fear. I'm your host, and today's case is one that left a community shocked, heartbroken, and asking how something so violent could come from someone who should have been family. This is a story of Jonathan Welsh, a man whose history of violence escalated to a level no one could have predicted, until it was too late. Today we walk through everything: how the violence started, the assault on the mother of his child, and his release, and the series of murders that followed. So let's get into it. Before the headlines, before the horror, there was a young woman. Her name was Zalea Frazier. She was the mother of Jonathan's young child, someone who wanted peace, a fresh start, and stability for her baby. Friends described her as gentle, the kind of person who stayed quiet but loved loudly. She tried to make things work with Jonathan, even when the relationship became volatile. She believed he could change. She believed things could be normal, but things would go from toxic to terrifying. The relationship had already been falling apart. Jonathan was controlling, angry, and unpredictable. One night, everything broke. Jonathan snapped violently. He beat her, choked her, and held her down. The attack was brutal enough that the police later said she was lucky to be alive. And as if the physical assault wasn't enough, he escalated further. Jonathan tried to burn her. He poured accelerant on her and attempted to set her on fire. The fear she felt in that moment, knowing that the father of her child was trying to kill her, was something she would carry forever. Luckily, she managed to escape. Police were called. Jonathan was arrested and charged with attempted rape, assault, and attempted murder. This should have been the end of his access to her, but it wasn't. Jonathan didn't stay in jail long enough. Whether it was overcrowding, judicial decisions, or procedural loopholes, the system failed. He was released earlier than the family anticipated. Everyone knew he was dangerous. There were warnings. There were signs. But despite all of that, he walked out of jail. When Jonathan got out, he didn't come out with a plan to change his life. He came out angry, obsessed, focused. And his target? Everyone he believed had turned him against him, including the mother of his child, his own mother, his stepfather, and even his own son. A pattern was forming. When Jonathan felt cornered, he lashed out at the people closest to him, the people who trusted him, the people who loved him. But this time, he wouldn't stop at assault. What happened next shook the entire community. It started with the mother of his child. He went to her home, knowing she'd be there. They argued. She tried to protect herself, but he overpowered her. Jonathan killed her. A woman who had once begged the system to protect her. A woman who had survived his first attack, only to lose her life because the system gave him another chance. From there, the violence spread. The next person was his own mother, the person who raised him, the person who likely believed she could help him, also the person that paid for his bail to get out of jail. Jonathan confronted her in a rage, accusing her of being part of the reason he had been locked up. The argument escalated, and he turned his violence on her. He killed her too. Then came his stepfather, the man he stepped in his life as a father figure. Jonathan attacked and murdered him as well. No hesitation, no remorse, just the same explosive rage that had been building up for years. And then, the part of this case that breaks almost everyone who hears it. Jonathan murdered his own son. After Jonathan killed the mother of his child and stabbed his stepfather, and after attacking his own mother, the night was far from over. Instead of running, instead of fleeing the city, Jonathan moved with a purpose, a warped, dangerous purpose. He got back in his car, shaking with adrenaline, blood still on his clothes, and headed toward the one place police would never expect next, a second house connected to the family. What happened there would become the most unforgettable, horrifying part of this entire case. When Jonathan arrived, he forced his way through the back of the house. Witnesses later said they heard banging, shouting, and glass breaking. Moments later, flames. Fast, violent, spreading too quickly to be accidental. The fire crawled up the curtains, swallowing furniture, making its way through the hallways, then climbing to the second floor. Neighbors rushed outside, unsure of what they were witnessing, and still screams made it clear. Someone was inside, and that someone had a baby. Through the thick, choking smoke, a small silhouette appeared in an upstairs window. At first, it was just movement, a tiny hand, a terrified cry. Then the child's full outline appeared, a baby, a toddler no older than 2. People on the street screamed, waving their arms, begging the child to stay at the window, trying to get firefighters closer, but the heat was too intense. Flames were already roaring from the lower level, blocking the stairs. Behind the baby, the room glowed orange as the fire crept closer, inch by inch. The neighbors below kept shouting, "Jump, jump, we'll catch you. Baby, come on, please." And then it happened. The child fell, slipping, overwhelmed by smoke, losing their grip. A small body dropped through the smoke-filled air. People ran to catch the baby, cushioning the fall with blankets, jackets, bare hands, anything to break the impact. Someone grabbed the baby and sprinted towards the street, away from the burning home, screaming for paramedics. The baby, unfortunately, didn't survive. Meanwhile, Jonathan didn't leave. He didn't hide. He didn't show fear. He stood inside the burning house, watching, pacing, armed. When the police rolled up, they immediately recognized the danger. Officers shouted commands, told him to drop the weapon, told him to step back. Jonathan screamed back, waving his weapon in their direction. There was no longer a crime scene. It was a battlefield. For the next several minutes, officers tried everything: commands, negotiations, containment, backup. Firefighters couldn't get near the house. Jonathan was too volatile, too close, too unpredictable. Smoke flooded the street. The flames were taller than the roof line, and Jonathan stood there, breathing, heavy, shaking, refusing to surrender. Police took cover behind vehicles. SWAT was called. Negotiators yelled over the crackling fire. Jonathan kept shouting, "They made me do this! This is their fault! They took everything from me!" He pointed his gun towards officers, then towards the sky, then back at them again. Tension rose to its breaking point, and then something shifted. Jonathan's energy drained. The smoke thickened. The heat grew unbearable. He lowered the gun, dropped it, raised his hands. Police seized the moment. Officers surged forward, tackling him to the ground, cuffed him, and dragged him away from the burning structure as firefighters finally rushed into the battle in the flames. The night of violence was over, but the damage Jonathan left behind was never to be undone. As we reach the end of this case, I want you to sit with something. Not the fire, not the violence, not even the police lights reflecting against the smoke. I want you to sit with the truth underneath it all. Jonathan Welsh didn't just snap. He didn't just wake up one morning and decide to destroy every life connected to his. There were signs, warnings, cries for help, in moments where the system could have intervened but didn't. Because before the fire, before the murders, before the standoff, there was a woman who tried to get away, a woman who survived an earlier assault, a woman who begged for protection.
Woods neighborhood and destroyed a family more than a week ago just keeps getting worse. 23-year-old Jonathan Welsh was let out on bond, accused of torturing his girlfriend. Police say he used that bond as freedom to take her life and the lives of others. Sean Lay is live where it happened in Harper Woods with reaction after a third person has died in connection with all of this. Sean.
And Kimberly, we're talking about an awful incident here that happened on July 10th. We were here as it all was unfolding. We continue to discover new information day after day about this horrible case. The family's home here remains a sad crime scene. Neighbors here tell us they watched Jonathan Welsh lower his little boy, baby boy, out the window and go back inside the home. That's where police say he went on a horrible stabbing spree, and now we've learned there are no survivors.
But I never would have thought that this would have occurred.
1 week ago, this shocking scene played out across the street from Jeff Wolf's Harper Woods home. Video showing 23-year-old Jonathan Welsh surrendering to police after prosecutors say Welsh killed his longtime girlfriend Zelega Frazier, his stepfather Robert Bray, setting his mother's home on fire and shooting at police. Also, Welsh's own mother was stabbed in her back during the attack. Police now confirming tonight that mother, Flossie Nicole Bray, has died from her injuries.
It's just a tragedy. Really, it's all that can really be said about it. I think everybody in the neighborhood was pulling for Flossie to make it and hoping that that would be at least one salvageable element of this situation. So it's very tragic.
All this taking place after Welsh was arrested and charged in June with torturing and sexually assaulting Frazier. But a 36th District Court magistrate gave Welsh a $10,000 bond. Welsh's mother bonding her son out. Hours later, police say Welsh attacked her, Frazier, and his stepdad.
Everybody's just shocked about it and dismayed that this all could have been prevented.